The Oscars were last Sunday. So everyone was pretty much ready to say goodbye to 2025. There's been a lot of discourse online about how it's way too late in the year already to talk about last year's movies. What happened to January or early February Oscars when those films are still fresh in people's minds? Now, let's have it in mid-March. Well, we're here to talk about the best movies of 2025 on Kicking the Seat because we're going to close out officially. Forget the Academy, forget your golden statues. This is all the recognition you need right here. And I am honored, blessed even, to be sharing the St. Patrick's Day live stream, not only with all of you, but with all of, well, not all of, but most of Earth's mightiest critics. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the Sunday show and, give some closing thoughts on that, and also talk about my personal top 10 list of 2025. I have not done a best of list since before the pandemic. So This is kind of new territory. It's one of those things. And this also explains why I'm doing it so late. Every year I'm like, okay, it's getting towards the end of the year. I should make my list. But then there's a few movies I didn't see. So I'll put it off till January, then February. And it's like, it's too late. But this year I promised to anyone who cared that I was going to do a top list. And so we're going to do it here tonight. And my list is very different than some of the other lists that are out there. So we're going to also get some of the opinions and the best films from other critics on the panel. Should be a very lively and fun discussion. We'll also talk runners up because, as I was talking about on Mark Krawczyk's show last night, or actually during his pre-show, he was talking about how he hadn't seen a lot of the awards movies last year and he wasn't sure what kind of a year it was. I said it was a great year. I told him I was having trouble paring my selection down to 10 films, and looking at my list again today before I sent it out to Earth's Mightiest Critics, I realized I've got like a top 20, but I confine myself to 10 as a brain bleeding exercise. So we're going to go through all that tonight. And with me, I am Ian Simmons, of course, of Kicking the Seat. We have Jeff York of The Establishing Shot and Pipeline Artists, Don Shanahan of Film Obsessive and Every Movie Has a Lesson, David Fowley of Keeping It Real. And I just want to mention, folks, first of all, shout out to Mike Crowley and Katie Glidewell, who are not able to join us here tonight on the panel. But I've got links to all of their top 10 lists down below in the description. So later on, certainly don't go reading it during the show. Wait and find out what we have to say now. And I'm looking at you, David Fowley. I saw you looking. You can go and see what they thought of the movies of 2025 and see how we line up or don't line up. And also, we invite you who are out there watching this live or in the future, let us know what you think. What were your favorite films? Do you agree or vehemently disagree with some of our selections? We are taking questions, comments, and super chats, but I must reiterate our recent unfortunate chat policy that we're only going to be reading on the live stream any chats that are respectful, relevant to what we're talking about. No trolling, no insults, that kind of stuff. So we'll get right into it, folks. I think I'll start off with Oscars. This could be an entire live stream, but we don't have time for that. So just kind of a quick wrap up. What do we think of the Oscars? What was our kind of highlight, low light, if you've got one of those to share? And do we think there's a future for this broadcast? I think it's supposed to go to Netflix or something next year or very soon. So what's that going to look like?
YouTube.
Wow.
28, 29 after 100, right? 101?
29.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, it's gonna be 100 years old in a couple of years. That's crazy. But who wants to go first? I'll just say I didn't particularly like the ceremony this year, not just because my picks didn't win all the way around. There were quite a few disappointments, quite a few nice surprises too. But it was too long, kind of too drawn out. I think way too many of the jokes and the gags fell flat. In fact, Jeff, you and I were talking about this the other day, how the pre-recorded stuff was the best, like the skits, like the Jane Lynch doing the kind of the YouTube ad breaks was pretty funny. I really liked Conan's bit with Josh Groban. I know that they did that live on stage, but yeah, those were really,
or the weapons intro with Conan running around, and that was, it's very well done.
Conan was great.
You had to tell me about the weapons intro because I missed the first 3 minutes of the show. I came in, I saw a bunch of kids running away from Hollywood, and I'm like, "We're going there, huh?" But you explained the full context. I appreciate it.
I had a problem just because I don't have basic channels. You know,
Oh, easy to
I'm
come back.
on. I'm using Disney Plus
Okay.
with.
Oh,
It
okay.
also has the Hulu bundle, so I'm like, oh, it's going to be on Hulu, so I'll go watch it through Disney Plus Hulu. And so I like to watch the red carpet. So the first hour of anything, the first hour of the whole thing is, you know, the red carpet and all that. And so that's on Disney Plus. And then it was like, okay, now we're gonna go to the where is it? It wasn't available. Like, even though I have Disney Hulu the bundle, I'm like, are you kidding me? I gotta go to the Hulu solo app, log in, and I know, first world problems, but it was frustrating because
I still have an antenna and a good old fashioned television where just watched it on channel 7, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I say I would, but I didn't watch a minute of it. So
But you were folding laundry, I know, for
I was folding laundry, eating dinner. That's a big pile of laundry, guys. Let me tell you, a big pile of laundry.
Yeah.
No, I avoided it because it's just not that I don't like Conan, not that I don't like what it is. It's just I am trying to be, you know, it's Sunday night, do other stuff with the family. They don't want to watch 3 hours of that, so I'm not watching 3 hours of that. Not that it was foregone conclusion, the awards or anything like that. It just I had other things to do Sunday night, and that's why ratings are down 16% because I didn't show up. So
you're a better dad than me, because I tell my family, look, I'm not.
Don't bother me.
I'm not a sports guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's one night a year.
Yeah,
one night a year where let's watch this together.
Oh no!
Of course, since I mandate it, nobody's interested really. So yeah. I mean, I thought, you know, it was fine. I'm always a sucker for Conan. And I thought it was great that there was a tie. That was a big surprise. That was pretty cool with the live action shorts.
That is a word you can use to describe that. I called BS on that tie, because this is a show allegedly about merit. You know, make like the Senate. If you have a tie, get someone in there to break the tie, because forever those people are going to be like, I won an Academy Award. I was the asterisk best that year.
I think Kimmel said it the next night, where it's like, you know what? This tie stuff is nonsense. You know, if they do make a tie, then it should be the first one up there wins.
Yeah, rushing to the stage.
And of course, it's live action shorts, so they're like in the back of the theater trying to really run up. You know, like, you know, it's not like Michael B. Jordan with 3 steps to the stairs. You know, like, it's going to be a chase. Yeah.
But you're right about the sort of stigma of the tie. I mean, there are still people forever and a day who say that Barbara Streisand won half an Oscar because she tied in the year with Flying in Winter's Kate Hepburn. Of course, they don't say Kate Hepburn's only won 3.5 Oscars. No, she's got the grand total of 4. But you're right. I mean, it's like, it just seems silly to, and they will not allow a tie anymore in acting. If it is a tie, I think they do
monologues
run off.
And now they do something about it. I forget what it is, but you're right. Somebody, that's where the Academy president comes in, or somebody get a select panel together. They know the things weeks in advance.
I think if they do an actor tie, then both of them should do a monologue on stage, and then
monologue off. Yeah.
But I think one of the things you're all talking a little bit about, and is reflected in the ratings. The ratings were down this year, though. It's still but it's still the highest rated primetime entertainment telecast this year. It is double the viewership of the Golden Globes, and it also scored social media impressions that jumped 42% this year. So there's plenty of people I think are paying attention without necessarily the full telecast. But I think there's some easy things they could do, dare I say, as a critique for the show. I watched the awards because I thought, you know, this year there's excitement in a lot of contests, and there were some real suspense. And most of the actors and people who won gave pretty good speeches, and they were pretty short, not all of them, but they didn't have to play too many people off. But they've never figured that out either. It's like, don't do that. Either tell them, look, you have one person come up here and we're going to cut your mic immediately, and Conan's going to come in, or we're going to cut to something. They never have that prepared. They cut to Conan, and he doesn't know anything to say. They don't have any music ready for it. They don't have the next thing to go.
And they rehearse this.
Exactly. Well, David, you're exactly right. The millions of dollars spent on this is the problem with the show. And it has been since I've been watching it as a kid. And I don't understand it. And it's not the norm. If you watch the Tonys, every year the Tonys are fantastic. Right. And maybe that's because they're put on people who are used to being on the stage and doing live. Well, then get some of those people on this show to produce it and direct it. The technical director of this show should never be allowed to direct a variety show again. The sound was terrible from the get-go. It never was fixed. when Barbara Streisand comes out, and Streisand was there for a good hour and a half rehearsing her bit because she's a perfectionist, and they don't have the mic ready for her.
Right.
She's 85. She's not going to project like I am right now. You got to get it closer or juice it when you're watching it, or make sure you can juice it while you're doing it. These kind of things are give me putts in the world of live broadcasts. I never see this problem on the Tonys, very rarely on the Emmys and other things, but every year the Oscars can't get together. The other thing too is if you're going to have Conan brag and boast about how he took all of his jokes out to comedy clubs and tried them out, it's like, did you try the writers' jokes for the presenters? Because those are some of the worst scripted jokes ever.
Yeah.
Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., I take back my love for you for all those years of the Avengers. You were terrible and you didn't know it. It's what
also
cut that stuff.
What also ticks me off about these presenters is it's basically just Disney saying, hey, look at the movies we have lined up for this year.
Yeah.
Mandalorian,
and it's the only studio. So you got Devil Wears Prada, you got Avengers, you got whatever else. It's like, come on.
Right. It's very shameful. Can I just say one other thing?
Go ahead.
Just
real quick. We're going to jump to
my rant about sort of missing the gimme putts. Okay, this year you're going to have a number of big deaths to celebrate. I love that.
Huge,
but then they muff it in ways too, and some suddenly, maybe I'm being too particular about it. I love the fact that they have Barbara Streisand, a superstar, to come out about Robert Redford, who is obviously a superstar. But then you bring out Rachel McAdams to talk about Diane Keaton. Warren Beatty and Al Pacino weren't around. I mean, I love and appreciate the fact that she's a talented person and she can read and everything. But her film with Diane Keaton was The Family Stone. How about Steve Martin? He made 3 films with Diane Keaton. Excuse me, my thing is slipping.
I can see Martin, but I don't want to see Pacino or Beatty up there.
Well,
he's a little rough at their ages too.
If they're prepared, like Billy Crystal was.
I worked with Diane.
See, that's the thing is you get them to rehearsal, you get them to be on point, and script, and then other little things too, like there's no special tribute to Duvall. You can't get somebody to talk about Duvall for 5 minutes. Catherine O'Hara is not a movie star. She's a television star. And they give extra time to her because, she was so beloved and such a loss. Yes, so are most of the other people who have died. She doesn't deserve a call out on the Oscars. The last thing I'll just say is, if you're going to bring all those people together like they did, which was wonderful for Rob Reiner, slow it down so you can see them. Or give them something
terrible
to say,
camera views there.
Or something. It's just the camera pan. Those are the kind of, again, gimme putts, if I dare say.
I think that was a clause in this time that they couldn't do close-up shots because of the Botox.
But I think you're right. Well,
but the technical direction has to be better, and that's one of the things that mars a show like this. It doesn't look that professional, and there's no excuse for it.
As far as the Reiner thing, though, I think the camera, the shots, it was very confusing to tell who was on stage and who wasn't, because they showed Jerry O'Connell and Will Wheaton from Stand By Me. And I was like, it's going to be Corey Feldman's shot to get close to the Oscars. He wasn't there, apparently.
Right.
And then they have these people come out of the shadows, like almost holding hands. They come up to the stage, and then they just turn around and watch a giant screen. Like what they could have, done the thing they did with the best actor and actresses, where they have them come out and say something. Each person gets a spotlight on them, and they go down the list. I would have rather they dumped that whole Bridesmaids reunion gag and just give, like Jeff saying, 5 minutes to some nicer tributes to a bunch of the people that they left out. But so
I'll do one Oscars thing. I think they need to take a page from the WWE and break this into 2 nights, because this is getting interminably long and rough on one night. Here's the thing: for the social media views and for like the way that things are getting tweeting and going and impressions and all that, you do night 1 non-black tie. You do your music nominees, you do your score, you do some of these artistic categories, you do some of these movie tributes, all these gags.
How about the Governor's Awards?
Exactly. You do night 1.
At least highlights.
Yeah, night 1, do the sub stuff, do the young people stuff, do the performative stuff, do the artistic stuff, all the tributes you want to do for anniversaries of this and that. And then night 2, you jump to the top 7 categories, and you put a strong in memoriam set there in a black tie event kind of thing, where then you're trying to give out 9 to 10 awards, and then a solid tribute that you're not rushed, and a good monologue. But I mean, it's one of those, like, why make money once when you can make money twice? And in terms of like having 2 nights, you can kind of dominate the weekend. And then if the young people who are just trying to watch K-pop Demon Hunters, or the kids that were staying up to watch Idina Menzel sing the Frozen song 10 years ago, like, you give them the casual night, when people can wear their sneakers and like just make a fun night, because the movies, it's still casual. You can have Nicole Kidman walk in an AMC commercial. And then you have your formal big time trophy night the next night for the top half of your awards,
And you know what that would be? That would really blow up the betting markets, because you can imagine if the movies on that first night start taking home a bunch of awards, it might start people thinking, wait, maybe I need to reevaluate my picks.
It would stir up the juice a little bit, especially if it's casual and approachable, and kids get to bring, and the actors and people there get to bring their children, because like if you have night one and you're singing the singers, the K-pop songs, and you're singing the singer songs, and everyone can bring their kids, and like it would just be, it doesn't have to be Nickelodeon Slime Awards or anything, but just fun, yet casual, yet a celebration of the movies.
Yeah, you could do also what the Tonys have done for 20 years, and that is they do an hour for the crowd there that is recorded, and then they have the highlights of that during the show. So like set direction, costume design are done the hour before the Tonys go live for television. So everybody feels like they're at the actual show, and it's done just the same, but then they put the clips together, because I'm not sure that many people need to see live action short and some of those. But you could also then, if you did an hour for, let's say you have half an hour for some of those lesser prizes, then you could also show a good 10-minute segment that to them and make it available online immediately for us as an extra to keep the conversation going, as you should in this day and age anyway with social media, of the highlights of the Governor's Awards. Instead of last night, we got not one clip of the Governor's Awards.
And
it's
that's
like, how is that?
Cruise,
And then you don't have Tom Cruise present Best Picture.
Exactly.
That's silliness. Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor singing highlights from Moulin Rouge. Why? And then you cut the other three songs nominated for Best Song. It's absurd. They just make dumb decisions. Like they just don't understand, dare I say, showmanship.
Well, I do. And that's why we're going to move on to the top 10 list of 2025. So, what I want to do here is go down my list.
Yes.
We're going to do a little pause. I'm going to say what the movie is, kind of what it's about, why I put it on my list, and then we kind of open up to folks to give their thoughts on it. We're just going to spend a few minutes on each, because we don't want this to be an Oscars length broadcast in itself. But for the movies that are not on anybody's list, and we don't have to talk about like, well, this was on my number 5 and it's your number 3. If you want to mention that, that's cool. But if there's movies that are on my list that are not on anyone's list, and I'll pretty much just kind of talk about it and make my case as to why not only did I really appreciate it, but maybe why y'all should check it out too. So the number 1 film on my list for 2025, and this surprised the heck out of me, was Song Sung Blue, Craig Brewer's film about a real life Neil Diamond tribute or Neil Diamond experience couple from the 1990s from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it's Kate Hudson and Hugh Jackman are just amazing in this film. They go through their struggles with addiction after a horrible car accident. It's two people who are recently or not so recently divorced. They both got kids who are like teenagers and slightly younger, so it's kind of a mixed family situation, getting to know each other, trying to form a band and get gigs and meet other people that are doing this, helping them out as a side gig from their other weird jobs, like being a bus tour driver for local casinos. It's a warm, hopeful, fun, very heartwarming movie with some fantastic music. I mean, Hudson and Jackman are singing all of these songs together. There's a reason she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. I think Jackman was frankly overlooked. I would have definitely put him in the slot where Sean Penn was, because I know Hugh Jackman would have shown up for the award and probably done a duet on stage with Hudson, whether or not those songs were nominated or not. This is something I didn't talk about on the live stream that we did about Song Sung Blue, which is, I think, one of the coolest things about the movie is it shows the impact of art on other people. We don't usually get movies like that. It's about people trying to become famous, or it's about a rocker biopic or an actor biopic. This is a movie about the impact that Neil Diamond's songs had on people, and kind of gave them hope and gave them the perfect soundtracks of their lives, no matter kind of what mood they were in. And it's a really beautiful film that I don't think got enough kind of recognition at the end of last year. Yeah.
It was my number 13, just off the top 10. Solid film, super duper crowd pleaser. I thought it would hit more with that Christmas crowd, but it just didn't. It was Marty Supreme instead. So.
And I think my theory on that is, well, two things. One, it had terrible trailer, because when I saw the preview for it, I'm like, I don't want to see this movie. It looks really cheesy.
Yeah.
And I think one of the and for folks who haven't seen it, if you have seen the trailer, towards the end, there's a bit where Hugh Jackman is kind of looking up at Kate Hudson on these stairs, and he's saying, no matter what happens out there tonight, it doesn't matter. Neil Diamond is not as important to me because you're my North Star. And he kind of goes through this list. It's very cheesy, but when that moment happens in the movie, even if you know that it's about to happen, it still gets you right here in the chest. It's a beautiful moment. And the other reason is, I don't know if this is word of mouth or something. I still have a problem with it, even though I know that there's a documentary about this couple from a few years ago with the same name, and that there's a car accident that happened in real life, and it happens, from what I understand, exactly as it did as portrayed in the movie. But again, the way it comes off in the movie, you're like, no, that didn't really happen. It did, but it's a weird looking sequence. Anyway, sorry. Jeff, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I think in some respects, a movie like this is probably a little bit tricky or difficult for a studio to do a trailer for, because you're right, it does come off a little bit hokey, but part of the charm of this movie is these people are affected by a song singer. And on the surface, that seems hokey almost in a way, like, really? And then they're a cover band or an imitation kind of thing, but that's a certain amount of entertainment people out there, and this treats them respectfully and talks about who they are and what they do, and you come to know them and like them, just the way the wrestler seems ludicrous at first when you see Mickey Rourke in that trailer, but then you realize, well, we may disagree with it or think it's lesser entertainment, but in these kind of things, this is important to their world. And I think some of that's a little hard to convey in a minute and a half trailer, as they tend to be these days. But the charm of this movie is that they never, ever judge these people. They show them as people who are, trying to make their way in life, as whether it's being a waitress in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, who wanted to be a singer in a nightclub, or people who are making a living as, kind of a cover band, which is kind of charming and interesting. You don't see that every day in the movies, and they did it very well, and they never condescended to those people. And I think we bring a lot of that condescension ourselves to a trailer like that, because we think those kinds of people are fools or silly, or they're not real entertainers. Well, yes, they are. People who work on a boat, a yacht, a big ship or whatever like that. They may not be, Leo and those people making $20 million a picture, but they are part of the entertainment industry, and they provide a lot of it to those people who like them. So that's what I liked about this movie, is that it respects them and gives them their due.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on it?
Okay. I enjoyed it. I mean, let's not forget, this is a movie that also has Fisher Stevens and Jim Belushi.
Now we're talking.
Yep.
And a guy playing Eddie Vedder. That was pretty good. I knew nothing about I knew about the documentary, but I hadn't seen it. And when I saw this movie, I didn't know anything about the car accident. So that floored me.
Same.
And it reminded me of a movie that I saw a couple years back with Ben Foster called Sharp Corner. and he plays a guy who lives with his wife in a rural area that they recently moved there, and their home lives on a sharp corner, and accidents keep running off the road into just like Song Blue, right into their dining room, basically.
Oh my gosh.
It keeps happening. And so he becomes possessed, or not possessed, but like obsessed with trying to save people who get injured. That's not Song Blue, but it reminded me of that, because it's like, holy cow, it's happening again. But yeah, I mean, I mean, it's hard not to get involved, invested and absorbed by the whole story, because it does feel like real people. Yes, it's obviously Hugh Jackman, and I think Kate Hudson kind of overshadows him many times, because she's not Hugh Jackman.
Also, Ian, if he got nominated, he would have replaced Leo, because Sean was in supporting.
Yeah, maybe.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think, I just did that just because Hudson, unfortunately, doesn't get as many roles as Jackman does.
Right.
We're so used to seeing Jackman. And so it was nice to give this role to Hudson, where she could easily disappear into somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tremendous film. I think that got unfortunately overlooked. It did turn me into a Neil Diamond fan. I think I knew a couple of his bigger hits, but I swear I listened to Forever in Blue Jeans 50 times the week that I saw this movie. I just kept on repeat.
What about the classic song from E.T., Turn On Your Heart Light?
No. Anyway, movie number 2. Don, this is I share this one with you because I saw it with you
And
in
I
the butt
felt
rumblers.
it with you. Yeah.
Yes, F1 the movie.
So we're not swearing here.
Wow.
We're trying to keep it family friendly always, David.
Okay.
Jeff broke the seal tonight.
Yeah.
F1 that movie. Oh,
Now, unfortunately, they are making a sequel. Apparently,
Oh,
they
no.
better call it F2.
We call it Senior Citizen Home.
F1 too.
3 years old.
F1 too. Wasn't that a joke, a Conan joke from the Oscars? It was going to be like F1 backspace or something like that. But
He made a typewriter joke.
Like,
A
yeah,
typewriter joke. Of course,
Right.
they still have the typewriter panel on a computer, so it's the same
Yeah.
keyboard.
well, this is Brad Pitt playing a former race car driver who basically travels the country and or the world looking for any kind of race that he get into just to get enough money to keep him alive and afloat till the next race. And he gets recruited by his former colleague / friend, played by Javier Bardem, who owns an F1 racing team that's really fallen on hard times. He wants Brad Pitt's Sonny to come and help him with a young kind of protege, hotshot race car driver, and they don't get along, but they form a bond. It's on paper, it sounds like every kind of racing / mentor movie you've ever seen. But a lot of this comes down to, I think, the chemistry between the actors is really on point. The screenplay is enough in love with the science and the technology behind racing.
Okay.
Like modern day racing, that you really get a feel. You can not know anything about F1 racing, as I did, and come out feeling like an expert. Now, how much of this was actually true to what you might see at a real F1 event, or if you're in that pit, I don't know. But they did enough of a job, solid job, make me interested in it to find out more, that I think they did a lot of heavy lifting there. And just as a movie going experience, if you saw this in IMAX with the kind of the rumbling seats and that really hard driving sound, I mean, there's a reason this thing won the Oscar for sound. It is quite a feat. And if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, like on the 4K, and you realize what they did with the cameras on these cars to get this seamless motion. There are many scenes watching this film where they do things on that track, and with the track and the camera movements between the cars, you're like, this has to be all CG. A lot of it wasn't. They did some CG for like the accident stuff, but when the cars racing down the track and they're swiveling from one cockpit around to another and then going kind of bounce from car to car so swiftly, it's like you are piloting a drone on this track. They invented cameras, they invented techniques to capture this. It's a special movie, and it's Joseph Kosinski. So that is, he's one of my favorite directors. I think he's kind of unparalleled in terms of modern action. It's the racing movie, but as far as an experience, and that's what a lot of what my top 10 list has to do with, the experience of watching the movie and also how I felt about the film, coming out of it. And F1 is definitely tops for me.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you really like Gran Turismo from the 2023. So I wasn't surprised when this was like one of your top, movies of the year. I liked it. It maybe could have been a little shorter, but I had no problem with it. I mean, we talked about it, and I don't think it needs a sequel. But
no,
it's don't tell that to the studio. What are they? It's all about making more money.
MVP of the movie for me is, Claudio Miranda doing cinematography, because I've been watching him since like Tron Legacy's work with Kosinski. He did, Top Gun Maverick, put cameras on those fighter jets and got just angles and shots you would have never believed. I would have given this movie cinematography award 2 nights ago, So it was sound, it was editing, it was cinematography, where I'm like, this movie has it, and in that sort of realm of things where I can't wait to see what the cinematographer does next, which apparently is Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling. So if you can put the cameras on the X-Wings the way you put them on F-18s, and let's see what happens.
on the real X-Wings.
Yeah, right. Watch them do real X-Wings. Like, we're going to pull this off live, like he would. If there's any guy who could do it, it'd be Claudio Miranda, man. So, yeah.
Love it. Jeff, any thoughts on
I think it's terrific too. And I was just going to say, I think it's a very underrated film in a lot of respects. I mean, even last night at the Oscars, Conan O'Brien said, "Oh, it's a great popcorn movie." Yeah, it's more than that. But there's nothing wrong with a popcorn movie on the list of 10. I know a lot of critics and people got a little snotty during the season saying, well, that's the one that shouldn't be on there. And there's better films that they could nominate. There's always dozens of films that probably could be nominated, but they said the same thing about Raiders of the Lost Ark in the day. And now when they talk about films that should have won in their year, most people think Raiders of the Lost Ark should have beaten Chariots of Fire. And yet Chariots of Fire was even considered to be kind of a lighter film because it was about sports and it was, kind of rah fun and, sweet and everything like that. I just get this. It gets me irritated as I like intellectualism and art house and all that stuff as much as anybody else, but there's room for all kinds of movies here. And to say that because this one's a roller coaster ride or a popcorn movie or whatever else, it's a great star vehicle for Brad Pitt. He's great in it. There's very few actors who can do those kind of movies left anymore. We don't have many superstars of that ilk. The racing editing, the sequence, they went around to the whole tour of it to get that film done, to make it look authentic. I'm sorry, that's as big a feat as most any film that's come out of anywhere in this year 2025. And they shouldn't lessen it just because it doesn't have, a foreign language kind of seriousness or emotional thing to it. This one, again, I applaud your choice, Ian.
Well, sorry, go ahead, David.
One more thing. I mean, I think it's cool that Kaczynski did, the fighter jets, the racing cars, and possibly the next movie he'll be making is speedboats with Miami Vice. Austin Butler and Michael B. Jordan.
I'm down for
it's
it.
interesting.
I'm so down. I was not the biggest fan of Tron Legacy, but I've been a fan of Kaczynski's since oh my gosh, why can't the Tom Cruise space movie? Oblivion. Yeah. I saw that in IMAX. Yeah. We'll move on to my next pick, number 3.
Oh, 3. Sorry, I was counting backwards.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm going from like everyone does their like 10 down to 1. I'm just going like
You're
1. Yeah. So
make sure you get the top ones in the time we've got.
Can't wait to talk about 10. Just kidding.
Hey.
They're all 4-star movies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sinners.
Guys, stop it.
Number 3.
Sinners.
Yes. I don't think anyone's ever talked about this movie. What an unknown. Yeah.
We're all sinners.
No explanation needed on this one. Yeah.
No, I mean, and
this was my number 1.
Well, David, okay, we'll do the list thing, David. Where was Sinners for you on your list?
11.
There we go.
It didn't make your top 10. I looked at your list earlier today and I completely forgot it. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. But hey, it almost made 10.
I felt the same way you did about like I could easily make a 20.
Sure.
And to me, the 10 are what resonates the most for me in that list, the top 10, and what I would easily rewatch again, and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
I mean, well, Sinners is. I mean, it's a crime movie that turns into a vampire movie, and I think if there had been some more clever marketing, it's sort of like another film we're going to be talking about on the list tonight, coming up very soon, Companion, which is an impossible movie to market because it has a huge surprise for anyone who's going in cold about 15 minutes into it. But I think Sinners, if it had been marketed just as a kind of Depression era crime film, with these two, twin brothers going back down, from Chicago, going back down south to open up kind of a gin joint, lead people in with that. You've got the brand name of Ryan Coogler. I mean, at this point, he's like Christopher Nolan. He makes something people are going to go see it no matter what it is, and then just knock their socks off when they're like, oh my God, this is a vampire movie all of a sudden. Because I feel like it's I've only watched it once all the way through. I've been trying to get around to a rewatch with my wife, but it's a vampire movie, so it's a little bit of a harder sell.
Same here.
But I feel like it's mostly a crime picture, and then it becomes a vampire movie, towards the end. It's not all kind of Fright Night or something. But I love the turn. I love the performances. There's so many great performances here, including Michael B. Jordan playing twin brothers, which is one of the reasons I think the special effects award should have gone to Sinners. It was up for it, but I think a good percentage of why that performance works so well is because he was playing the two roles and they were melded together seamlessly. I mean, it's like the Winklevoss twins from The Social Network,
Mm-hmm.
15 years ago or whenever that was. Sinners is my number 3.
When you watch it again, Ian, I think this is what happened when I watched it again. Is I had an appreciation of it even more as almost like it has a lot of Western elements too, because it has one of those when you're watching before the vampires even show up. Although I loved when the vampire first shows up,
He's falling out of this, falling in just out of frame.
Love it. But before that, it's just these two brothers getting a team together. And there's that's been in like sci-fi movies, that's been in adventure movies, fantasy movies, and Western movies,
heist movies.
Yeah. And heist movies, yes. And it feels great because these are great, like lived-in characters. Like when we meet Delroy Lindo, when we meet all these characters, it's with the caliber of actors and the cast. I mean, it's just fun to watch.
The fun part for me in that same build, it's that come back home to your old history. Like it's the reverse of the Great Migration we saw in those Jacob Lawrence pictures in Harlem Renaissance, where these guys found success up north and they want to come back home rather than leave the South, or completely leave the South. So in coming back home to put a team together and open up something with dreams, you got to get through Old Flames and Girlfriends too, because I think Wumi Musaka and Haley Steinfeld just take this movie to another level, because you're like, these guys got to go deal with that next. And it's two completely different situations of Old Flames, and it just incenses everything else that they're trying to do. And it comes to a head when all hell breaks loose an hour after that. So yeah, it's really got so many layers.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, having watched it 4 times, and that is it becomes a horror movie less and less, because I think the greater themes rise to the top.
Yeah.
And it seemed that by the third movie, I realized that this film is actually about art. It's about the art. It's about music, because the devil wants the music of the blues, because he knows that this is this great art form that is wholly the Black community that they've created. And that scene where, of course, you see the past and the future and all different kinds of things they recreated very nicely at the Oscars, which was no small feat, is about the fact that music transcends time, tribe, background, history, and it's something we all unite. Everybody loves music of some sort. We listen to it. And this is finding sort of your people through it, yourself through it, your expression through it. Remember, this kind of, there was not a lot of expression for people in the Jim Crow South, and even blues music was considered to be the devil's music. And that's why Ryan Coogler has, the preacher saying, like, put down that guitar, this is bad and all this stuff. And it's like, no, that's actually where you're touched by God. If you have music in you and stuff like that. I think it's a very spiritual movie. And I think saying that music is sort of where, only those who appreciate it and love it and embrace it can sort of subscribe, because it will not cow to political powers, or, I want you to join us. Hey, at least if you're a vampire, you can't be defeated by anybody. That's kind of the choice. And it's like, no, he picks music and he goes away with that guitar at the end. And I don't know. I just thought it was wonderful. One last thing I just want to say about Michael B. Jordan. I'm shocked and was dismayed during most of the award season that he wasn't figuring in more of these contests, because he's so good. And, lest we forget, he played 3 roles. When he plays Stack, who gets bitten and turns into a vampire, he's not quite the same Stack. So that's a very different thing too. But your point is so great, Ian, is not only the special effects seamless, but Michael B. Jordan underplays it. They always give Emmys to soap opera actors who play twins, because they get to play very, very wide range of people. Jekyll and Hyde, your point on, that's great. Here it's like, no, Stack and Smoke are pretty close, but there's little differences the way they're holding. I mean, I think it was Wumi who said, like, when he was playing Smoke, his dimples disappeared. Well, it's because he held his face differently. He was a little more tense and just a little bit. It was very subtle. That to me is great screen acting. So I'm glad.
Well, it's also the power of collaboration in Coogler and Jordan building a character from the wardrobe. He talked about I can't remember what he did to his shoes, but he did something. He put something in his shoes to make himself walk
tighter
differently.
shoes and
Tighter shoes,
looser shoes.
That's right. So when they were walking, they literally had to hold themselves different during those long days of shooting. So yeah, it's wonderful. Now we're going to move on to film number 4 on my list. And that is Companion. This is a film that came out at the beginning of last year, and I didn't see it until it came out on home video in, I guess it would be the spring. I slept on it. Most people did. It flopped. The people who did see it, got some decent critical notices, but I think part of it is people didn't know what that movie was, and it's an impossible film to market. Sophie Thatcher. Okay, we've got the spoiler warning on, so if you don't want to know anything about Companion, come back in a few minutes, because I'm just going to talk about what this movie is. Wait, Don.
I haven't seen it, so yeah.
You haven't seen Companion.
Turn your camera off.
Oh, Don.
I'll see you in a second. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll breeze through this so we can get Don back on the show. But Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid play a couple who go out to a not a cabin in the woods. It's a very nice house, and a wealthy house in the middle of the woods, because Jack Quaid wants to introduce his girlfriend to his circle of friends. I think they might have had some encounters, but this is kind of like the big, like, let's all be friends and get into each other's circles kind of party. And she's a little bit nervous because she gets the feeling that the friends don't quite like her or respect her for some reason. And it turns out that's true, because they don't really see her as human, because she's not. Her character, Iris, is a sex robot. That is what she was designed and sold to the Jack Quaid character as. His name's Josh, by the way. But during the course of this weekend, some horrible things happen to Iris, and she breaks her programming and discovers agency and decides to kind of fight for her own life. And in the middle, finds herself in the middle of this conspiracy involving the owner of the house, or a plot against him more specifically, and the people that she's stuck in this wooded location with. It's an inventive film. It's really wickedly, darkly funny. It's graphically violent. Not that that's a selling point, but it is kind of fearless in the way that it decides to really go for some of these gore
they don't
effects.
pull their punches.
Right. And I think just Sophie Thatcher herself, I mean, it's a tremendous performance. There's the naivete in the beginning. Not that she's portrayed as being an idiot because she's just supposed to perform that function, but she's kind of nice and meek and embarrassed and really wants to fit in. And then when she discovers who she is, there's a moment of horror, which is, I didn't know what this movie was when I sat down to watch it. I went in completely cold, and there is a shocking moment when they reveal that, because she doesn't know she's a sex robot, but when she finds out, it's in the most unfortunate of circumstances. And from there, it's off to the races. And the movie is constantly revealing new layers, new surprises, new tricks, not in the way that you feel manipulated or things feel cheap, but you're in the hands of a great storyteller. And that's why I think Companion it's a solid film. So real quick, Jeff and David, get your thoughts. David, you have seen Companion, right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I didn't go the way of Don. I enjoyed it. It was weird because it came out around the same time as Novocaine, so it's like two Jack Quaid, crazy movies. I thought it was good. It was surprising. It was kind of provocative and thought provoking, almost like a really cool like Twilight Zone episode. No qualms about it. I thought it was good. It was unexpected. Maybe it was the marketing. I just don't know. People are so they think that they want something new, but when it comes down to it, they want more of the same. So whatever.
I think also it could have been a number of things. I mean, the fact that it was a January movie and there's a stigma, surrounding those. I mean, frankly, this was, around the same time as Mickey 17 and a string of bombs for Warner Brothers. It was early last year when the studio's future was in doubt because they hadn't had the explosion of Sinners or the Minecraft movie or that 9-picture string of like number ones at the box office. That hadn't happened yet. So people are looking at flops like Companion and Mickey 17, be like, this studio's in trouble. The execs are almost out the door. But Jeff, a couple thoughts on Companion,
it's number 3 on my list. I loved it. I think it's a very great and unheralded film. It's probably another topic for another show, but I think there is a difficulty with quality entertainment sometimes resigning itself or matching quality marketing. And I know that marketing is a tough world. I come from it. You do too, and we all know of it and experience it every day. I think they didn't know exactly how to sell this. They sold it too much. They give away in the trailer and the poster the sort of surprise. But there's bigger surprises after that. So maybe they were too close to it, but there's definitely ways you could do either slant if you wanted to. They unfortunately didn't find either one of the better ways to do that. And I think they just kind of threw their hands up. It didn't have any stars. They had bigger things coming up. It's the dry season. They're still playing with the Oscars in a month or so. It got lost, and it's unfortunate that it did.
This should have been a fall movie. Should have come out in the horror category. Sorry, yeah.
Sorry. One more thing. This is the director's feature debut.
It's insane.
Yeah. Drew
wrote and directed
Drew
it.
Hancock.
Yeah. So bravo, Mr. Hancock. See if we can wave Don back on. I guess I could just shoot him. Oh, yeah. Come on, Don. Yay.
He was searching for his Lucky Charms.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Well, okay, perfect. Hopefully you didn't hear any of that. I know you put your ears back in right when Jeff was talking about the marketing gave away.
I'm not going to give away stuff, Don. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Next film. This was number 1 for a good long time on my list, but it worked its way down to number 5, and that is The Life of Chuck.
I had 7 here. Yeah.
We got 5 Stephen King adaptations last year, one of which was really worth a damn. The other one was kind of close, and that was the Running Man readaptation. But Life of Chuck, I think, is there's one other novel that I can think of that is a pure adaptation of the source material, and that was Sleepers. I almost said Sinners. Sleepers from 30 years ago. That if you watch that movie and then you read the novel, or you read the novel and watch the book, you're going to have one of those is going to be a redundant and unpleasant experience because it is so literal. Life of Chuck from Mike Flanagan is kind of the same thing based on the story from the Stephen King short story collection. There's only, I think, 2 very minor character changes. The events of the story and pretty much the way that they unfold is literally ripped right from the book. And I saw the film and then I had to go out and read the story. Because it's Stephen King, there's nothing wrong with going and reading the story, even if you just watch the same thing in a movie. The writing is so rich and involved and detailed, it feels new. So this is about a guy named Chuck who keeps showing up on these billboards around town around the same time that strange events are happening in the world, and people get the sense that the world is coming to an end. It's on its last legs. And Chuck is on these billboards, and then he's on TV, and then he's appearing as a video in people's windows, like in the reflective glass. From there, the story kind of travels to different places throughout time, and we meet different characters. There's a lot of dancing in the movie. It gets very kind of dark, but it ends on a surprisingly sweet and tender note. It teases that there could be something sinister going on with these sort of famous Stephen King horror elements, but it turns out that they are supernatural but not horrific. And by the end of the film, you're like, oh, I get what was going on there. It was kind of creepy in the moment, but it's kind of touching now in retrospect. So yeah, I love Life of Chuck. And as I mentioned, it was kind of tough with these top 5 picking which one was going to go into which slot. But yeah, absolutely lovely film. And you hear Stephen King and Mike Flanagan, who's directed a lot of King stuff in recent years, mostly horror. You think, oh, what is this? Is this going to be another like monster slashery kind of thing? It's not. It's a beautiful, tender, loving film about life.
Did Chucky grow up?
Right. Oh no.
I think what this made my list is number 9. I think what's cool about it is I can't. I mean, maybe a couple people, but I've recommended it a lot, and everybody comes back saying like, man, I'm so glad you told me about this, and this is really good, just because it's so different than anything else out there. And it really can be, if you were to have that discussion, which you should afterwards with somebody, just what's this movie about? After you watch it, it could be about really a lot of things, depending on the viewer. So there's no one real answer, and I think that's what's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, this was right there with it was this and Sinners. I saw around the same time in April, and these were 1 and 2 most of the year. This was 7 for me, and just a wholly unique experience that I wasn't ready for. I that first piece of the triptych, I'm like, hold on a second, where stars are disappearing and things are getting really woolly in a hurry. And but no, obviously Hiddleston shows up and just wins you over. And I was just taken from there. And I'm surprised this didn't get. I know A24 tried their best, and A24 does what it does, but this was the audience winner 2 TIFFs ago. And normally that movie, when you're that winner, normally the carpet is rolled out for an Oscar campaign of some kind, but they sat on this over a year, and I'm really surprised, and I think it hurt its chances. Now, don't get me wrong, 2024 had its own juggernauts to deal with, or a year ago, 2024. But this would have played. This would have played a year ago. This would have played now. Maybe it may have. Maybe it could have played a little better I don't want to say pre-Trump, but just when the world was a little less problematic,
cynical.
Cynical, and because this movie has its, I'll say my Clint Worthington word of the day, twee elements to it, but it's heavier than that, and I admire that it goes there. I wish this movie would find more audience, and like Dave, this is an easy movie to recommend to somebody who's like, I need something substantial but different, and I mean, I got just the thing, it becomes that movie.
And I will say, sorry,
Right,
I think
if
if this movie had been given the respect I think it deserves, found the audience that it should have, then I take back my Sean Penn statement from earlier. Thanks for correcting me, Jeff. Mark Hamill should have been slotted into the Sean Penn slot for One Battle After Another, because you find out he's in this movie, you think of him as Luke Skywalker or the Joker or something. You've never seen him in a role like this, because he is the grandfatherly figure. You don't,
unless you watch The Long Walk. Oh, sorry. That's two kings.
The Long, I'm going to do a worst movies of the year list, and that's going to be right there at the very top. My goodness. But in fairness, I couldn't get the novel out of my head. So, Jeff, any thoughts on Life of Chuck?
Yeah, I think everything that you guys have said is right and good. It was
Thank you.
My second tier runner-up, but it was very well done. I think films like this, and maybe to some degree Companion, are they're so different, and they can't just be explained as a one simple thing that marketing and maybe studios throw up their hands and say, well, how am I ever going to explain this or get people to see it if I can't do an elevator pitch? Well, maybe not everything should be an elevator pitch.
Right.
It shouldn't be that simple, that we only like simple stories, or most stories are simple and they get complicated as it goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have said, can one person have an effect all of his life on whoever he meets and interacts with? And do they have effect on him? Yes. To be human is to be Chuck. To be Chuck is to realize that every person is important. Boom, there's your story right there. Yeah. I made that up just now. Not saying it's brilliant, but it's better than the stuff they did with this.
No,
I don't understand.
They just leaned on the dance. It was like
they just show a big
too,
starry sky or Tom Hiddleston dancing. It's like, oh, well, we'll have Loki dancing. That's not the story.
Not enough. Yeah.
In fact, the kid is more important than anything. I would have sold it as a kid's film. I think get kids to watch it with their parents and say, what is that about? Well, you know what happens to you as a child may influence and affect you forever, which is good, but it's not the beginning and end of your life. And life isn't determined by how long you're on the planet, but how well you live it. I mean, we used to be able to make films like that all the time in this world. And now more and more of those are just being dismissed, and maybe even television is starting to go away from them. But I think it's a very good movie too. What's that?
It's getting smothered by 3 horror movies a week.
Well, yeah, and those are the easy, low-hanging fruit that people like to see, and they go to a theater because it's a collective experience to scream and feel frightened with everybody else around you. It's a fun experience because it lessens the scares in a way, but enhances them in others. But I'm with you, and I like the fact that you're picking some stuff that deserve more attention, Ian, because, again, we looked at the Oscars just 2 nights ago, and it's shocking that it's so much of the same films over and over again. And, you know, there's articles that Pete Hammond of Deadline wrote about how, you have to have sort of the money and the success and the backing. And, you know, some of these independents just don't stand a chance, or if they didn't make it the first round, they're dismissed. And then first round, I mean the first weekend. And I think that's a sad state about Hollywood too. They didn't talk about that much at the Oscars the other night, but it's not just about, we need people to go to the theaters. It's like, we need to give movies time to find an audience. We need to realize that box office is not the only attribute of a good film.
Right.
And maybe we need to work a little bit harder to make sure people are aware of that.
Well, I think that goes back to, diminishing attention spans,
Yes.
the egregious amounts of money that they're spending on these movies. So if it doesn't hit, they're like, why are we going to send more money, good money after bad? Yeah. And unfortunately, when you have a film like this and Companion, which are both big swings, you could just see someone saying, look, just give us a chance. It's different. It could really connect with people. And then when it doesn't, it gives the cynical executives room to say, look, see, we tried it your way and we took a bath in this darn thing. We're not going to greenlight another Life of Chuck for a decade. Thanks. So moving on.
Moving right along.
Yay. We're getting to the back half of the top 10 list for 2025. Sirat, a film by Oliver Laze. Wow. If you have not seen this film, it is a very hard watch, but it is also oddly touching and life affirming while also being filled with dread and doom. A father takes his young son out to the Moroccan desert to sort of infiltrate rave culture because I don't know if she's a teenage daughter, if she's early 20s.
Yeah.
Like 17, 18, she's gone missing, and she's been gone for, I think, 5 months. And you get the impression they've been going to a lot of these parties, just like leafleting and trying to talk to people like, have you seen her? Do you know her? And it's tough because everyone's just focusing on dancing and doing ecstasy. But she gets, the father gets a tip from this group of partiers, and like, yeah, she might be going to this other rave that's out in a different part of the desert. We're on our way there. The whole party gets raided by local authorities and people are being rounded up. This caravan of partiers breaks off, makes a run for it into the deep parts of the desert. The father and son chase after them in their little truck, and this odyssey is this descent into hell, involving landmines and really treacherous treks around mountains on extremely narrow roads. And you're talking about these giant buses trying to get around these narrow mountain passes, and there's tragedy involved. It's a harrowing film. The sound, there's reason this movie was also up for, was competing against F1 for sound. In addition to the score, the music and also the sound effects of this movie create this oral landscape that just can't be topped, even if you're just watching it at home on a TV. By the end, we have far fewer characters than when we started, but you do get the sense that the people who survive this ordeal are changed, and they meet up with other people who are coming from other different places. I'm trying not to spoil it here, but you get the sense that everybody is kind of converged on this one new kind of a caravan, and they've all got their own stories, and you kind of wonder, what are their lives like? It's, as Roger Ebert used to call movies empathy machines. This is sort of a moving empathy machine that happens to be filled with a lot of sort of real world terror. So that's why Sirat is my number 6.
I did not have it in the top 20, but it's super strong film. This was a banner year for international film, as the case with this being up for international feature alongside.
That'd be the best year ever for it.
It's 5 bangers, as the kids would say.
And they had 2 or 3 that could have been on the list as well, and
easily. But no, this one is a challenging film. Unforgettable movie. It's tough to have it balance the dread, with the life changing, the affirmation end of it, where it's a hard reconciliation to make from how that comes together in the movie, where it for me, it was a challenge I couldn't quite get over. Respected it entirely, but it's a tough one. Tough, very, very good film, but a tough hang.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. I know it played the music box a little bit ago. I'm not sure if it's actually on home video, if it's going to be soon, but yeah, it's not an easy recommendation. In that it's going to be a great time at the movies, but I think it's a necessary watch, even especially for people who are interested in getting into filmmaking, because you're watching a lot of this stuff thinking, how did he pull this off? I mean, not to plug my own stuff, but hey, it's my show. I got to talk to Mr. Laget a couple of weeks ago about Sirat, and he did talk about the car and cliff sequence, which is all I'm going to say. Talked about how he pulled it off, because I felt like I was watching a magic trick when that happened. I'm like, did they actually do that? Turns out the answer is no, but they pulled it off very convincingly.
I was going to say, it's pretty cool that on your top 10 list that you've interviewed one of the directors.
Yeah, and I met two of them, because you and we met one of the people who's on my top 20, Mr. Jafar Panahi from. Of course. My gosh,
it was just an accident, Ian.
It was just an accident. No, I was thinking of No Other Choice, because they're very similar titles. That's also on the list.
You were thinking of what's his previous movie?
Country for Old Men?
No Bears.
No Bears, yes. Yes.
I think there's something to be said, and this is why foreign films, I think, are always a treat for even the most hardened and wizened of critics. Maybe not as much so for audiences, because I think they have barriers. Sometimes the seriousness of films, sometimes the despair, certainly the language, still an issue with certain people. But these kind of films remind me of films in the 70s that need to be seen, that deserve to be seen, that are just as valid as any crowd pleaser or whatever you want to call the kind of film. But this reminded me of something like Sorcerer, which came out at the time, and unfortunately, I think opened the same weekend that Star Wars did it. Gee, I wonder which one they went to see at the theaters and which one became the hit. But I think sometimes desperate people and dark stories like this have a great appeal, even though they're not appealing. A dog dies in this one. There's a lot of people who will not see a movie with a pet that gets killed, or children, or other things like that. And it is a tough sit. It's a tough sell. It's 100 things that are working against you. But this kind of artistry, this kind of humanity coming through, even with all that, is extraordinary. But it's a good thing that certain international filmmakers are doing this, because there's not a lot of American filmmakers who are going to go in this route, not in this day and age.
Yeah. And we'll talk about some of those other foreign films when we get to the runners up on my list coming up. So stay tuned. So after Sirat, we have Marty Supreme, a film that I did not see in the theaters. I watched it, during an awards screener thing, hanging out with my old friend AC from Horror 101 with Dr. AC. Sometimes we get to watch together and watch things that are not horror, which is weird. But I really loved what Josh Safdie did with this film, and it ties very closely to another movie that's coming up later in the list. It involves a character who is very, very unlikable, very talented, but he's just a little snot. This kid, I mean, he's a table tennis international superstar, or he's on the verge of becoming one. But through a series of very poor decisions, he kind of blows every shot that he gets. He betrays everybody that he knows and who he loves, or who loves him, because it's not clear that he's capable of love, until the very end of the movie, where it's a kind of a fast forward redemption arc, I think, with, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who, although I have the spoiler banner on, anyone who's not seen Marty Supreme, something happens at the very end that changes his life. And in that moment, you can just see a future where he does turn things around because he kind of has to.
That's when his pinky gets cut off, right?
That's also
exactly.
No, his thumb, because he can't hold the paddle anymore.
He was Willem Dafoe in The English Patient 30 years ago. That's exactly the scene. That's the one.
My
Both
gosh, I
thumbs.
forgot about that movie.
Both thumbs.
Ugh.
Right.
Um,
He walks around looking for Ray finds the rest of the movie. Where is this son of a bitch?
But no, I love the energy. I love the episodic kind of storytelling of Marty Supreme. It was one of those films that I saw the trailer for it way before it and it came out in the fall. And I was like, oh, I want to see this. And then I heard a lot of folks not being that crazy about it. I'm like, I don't know if I need to go out and see this. And I watched it at home and thought to myself, why didn't I go see this? I'm a very complicated man. I don't usually like movies about my line is this. I'm not crazy about films about immoral, troubled characters if I think that the film is on their side.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is not on Marty's side.
No.
It appreciates that he is charismatic in his own way and very talented and is squandering those talents and abusing his hold that he has over people. But it also is not afraid to give it right back to him in very humiliating and entertaining and kind of dangerous ways. It kind of reminded me of Trainspotting in a way. That kind of self-destructive, charismatic central figure that ultimately kind of gets what he deserves in the end, but also not. I don't want to say anything more than that. So yeah, that's Marty Supreme.
That was my number 4. No.
Okay.
Yeah, 4.
Nowhere close to my top 20.
Okay, so Don, talk to me about it briefly because I want to get us out of here, but I do want to hear some dissent here tonight too.
Sure. The last 15 minutes you speak of, I don't buy in the least. He will leave that woman in 2 years. Not a chance in the world. I don't see the redemption arc. I don't buy the Rocky marketing. I don't buy the energy's good, and it's I love the self-destructive character. I mean, Timothée Chalamet takes it places. It is immensely watchable. Can't take your eyes off it. Have no clue what's going to happen next movie. That's a thrilling experience for sure. But in terms of net worth, net value, no.
How does that work though? Because you just described a movie that people should go see.
That's the thing. Like, see it because Timothy is that good. There's plenty of reasons to see movies that aren't going to turn out good. We just did Sirat. Like, no one's going to go, oh gosh, that was the best thing in the whole wide world. Or it's like, because there's this really hard to redeem character, you can be impressed by the interpretation of that really hard to redeem character, but while still just not buying the completion. I just don't feel like they landed the plane. The kid was coming, they gave him the kid, and I just don't buy it at the end at all. I know that's supposed to be the big, like, now he sees the light. After all of the shit he did, I just don't buy it. And then they come up with just really complicated things to do for 48 hours, where it's One Wild Night, the movie, which we've seen 1,000 times. So.
Well, and David, you just said something I think that's key there. The ending is up to interpretation. I buy that he was transformed by that moment because, I've been transformed by that moment. I'm not saying I was doing anything that this character did in the movie to that degree, but it is because he's very young in this film, and this is you've had your chance to screw around and be a kid, and now you've got to take some real responsibility. Now, your theory may hold. I mean, we'll never know because unlike F1, I don't think we're getting Marty Supreme 2.
Wouldn't that be something?
It'd be something I'd probably step in. Sorry, David, go ahead. What?
No, I was just saying Marty Supreme. If this movie were made in 1996, it would star Shia LaBeouf.
It's a little young for
96. Yeah. He was like
Okay, what year did Transformers come out? The first
07.
Yeah. Oh, geez, gosh.
Yeah. But no,
I still think the 90s were 20 years ago.
Yeah, like 2000 was when Even Stevens was on the Disney Channel. Ask me how I know that.
His Emmy award-winning role.
Was 03.
2007.
Yeah.
Jeff, go ahead.
I think one of the exciting things about this year for films is that a lot of them had that sort of daring that maybe we talk about something of a bygone era, like the 70s, when we had protagonists who aren't particularly likable in desperate stories or stories where they weren't going to come out good, like Sirat. And I think those kind of films are not only fascinating to watch anyway, but particularly because they're very rarely made anymore. And I'm just going to say, and I'm glad that you have the line where you say if the filmmakers seem to be on the side of the people, because there's a lot of people who will not go and see a movie where the character isn't somebody that I like and I want to hear on. And I don't think they ever have to be. And it's funny because I would argue that for the last 20 years of television, we've got very used to characters who aren't particularly good, whether it's Dexter or Sopranos or Breaking Bad, things like that. I think as studies of why are they this way and why they change and the human condition, I think that's fascinating. And if we can watch it for 5 seasons, I think it's interesting in 2 hours. What I like about this movie is by casting Chalamet, you think you're going to like him, and very quickly you realize, oh my God, he's an awful prick.
He's well though, man.
I mean, if
I love Chalamet for doing it. I mean, I know he didn't get the
choice.
Oscar ultimately for it, though he was the favorite for a long time, but he is willing to play a jerk, and not even, Harold Hill, who's a con man, but he's at least got the charm of Robert Preston. Here, this guy in like the very first scene, the first 10 minutes of the movie, he's trying to get $700, and he goes from trying to charm somebody out of it, to talk them out of it, to speed talk them out of it, to basically threaten them out of it, to physical violence. I mean, this guy is like, he won't take no for an answer. And then there's a scene where the rich lady played by Gwyneth Paltrow says, well, what do you do for a living? I don't do anything. Well, do you make any money doing ping pong? Well, I don't have to. It's like, well, how do you pay rent? I don't pay rent. He's not on the same level as anybody watching this. So I think what you do is you watch this as, there are people like that in this world. And some of them are fascinating too. And, there's lots of scoundrels out there. And this is one of them. And I find what's amusing about it, maybe to your very point, Ian, is I don't think Safdie is actually sympathetic at all to this character. I mean, by the time he's getting his bottom, whacked by Mr. Wonderful, and Chalamet said, I got to do this scene. You're not using a butt double. Good for you, Timmy. I mean, it's like, and I laughed the more the film went on because I realized, oh my God, we are following Dingleberry, and he's just one battle with himself after another.
Well, I think you mentioned Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. I mean, it's it might be stunt casting or whatever because he's just playing like this businessman, but he is, from what I can tell, just watching this movie, he's good at acting. I mean, he holds his own in this Academy Award nominated film, and it never feels like a gimmick character. I mean, the first time he show up, it's because I think he lost a bunch of weight or something because I didn't recognize him. And then, of course, as he pops up more in the film, you get that kind of attitude. You're like, oh, that's him. But he's also not playing I'm a big shot businessman who's a jerk for no reason. He's just trying to be professional about this and actually help Marty out in a lot of cases, but he keeps getting stabbed in the back and he grows more aggressive till it kind of comes to a head with that paddle scene. But okay, we're going to move on to this one. Was a tough one because Richard Linklater made 2 fantastic movies last year. One was Nouvelle Vague, and that's the one that's on my list. And the other one was Blue Moon, which almost was on my list. But I went with Nouvelle Vague because I think Blue Moon is very, very much a play with some terrific performances in it. But I think Nouvelle Vague, because it's a movie about making movies, A, I'm a sucker for that. But, B, it's a movie it's a Netflix film shot in black and white about the making of Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. And we've seen films about like making movies and sort of in the same vein of Westerns, the idea of getting the crew together to pull off a heist. In this case, it's to pull off sort of an underground film on the streets of Paris, and how do they get these kind of inventive shots and the cast, what it's like to work with them and get everyone to get along. It's a beautiful movie, and I think it's a great companion piece to Breathless as well, giving some insights as to what was going on during the making of this film. It's kind of amazing that it's not a foreign film insofar as Richard Linklater's he's a Texan, but he made this movie that feels like a bona fide international feature that's also a throwback. And it really was kind of a close toss-up between this and Blue Moon, which has a transformative, I'm going to use the career-defining performance cliche for Ethan Hawke, because I've never seen him do anything like that in that film. So, parenthetically, I put Blue Moon up with Nouvelle Vague.
They were both on my 10 list. And in some respects, you could almost put them like some critics tend to do, where they put 11 on there by doing the sort of Both are at 7.
Katie's around here somewhere with all her time.
But one of the things I loved about
Katie's in the comments. Yep.
one of the things I loved about this movie was that it was shot like it was the French New Wave, and yet it's also commenting on the French New Wave. I mean, they take the most devastating end scene from the actual movie Breathless, and they turn it into the funniest scene in this movie. And it's like, well, but that's because it's about filmmaking, and filmmaking is an illusion, and what we see on camera isn't always necessarily what it took to get that. And it just has such respect and admiration for it. And I also love the fact that right around Linklater turned around, and to your point, Blue Moon is basically a play shot like a play about people in the theater community. It takes place in one place, Sardis, and it's you can see it being opening as a play in a small community theater and be just fine. But it's also, most importantly, I think this is where the critics might put it easily on the same slot together, as one is about the beginning of a great artist, the other is about the descent of a great artist. Just those comparing and contrasting things from the same filmmaker who's making commentary about both is, I think, an extraordinary achievement in a year. And in a different year, he might have been nominated for one of them for doing both of them.
Agreed.
And also, even though they are kind of thematically similar, I don't feel like you can watch one movie and then the other and say, oh, this was made by the same person. It's not like he's just copying himself. Like, oh, I'm just going to do 2 movies this year. They're completely different experiences.
So true.
Yeah.
This was a hard. See, I'm not a French New Wave guy. I'm not super versed in it. Where this was like, for me, this was like reading somebody else's love letters. Like, I don't know what you're all talking about. I know you sounds like you really like this stuff. I don't like it like you do. But like, Richard, I'm glad you love it. And I felt like I said, I felt like I was reading somebody else's love letters. It took me 3 nights to watch this 94-minute film. It was a slog. I am falling asleep. It's just, I don't get tizzied about New Wave the way I get what they're doing completely. I trust me. I understand like the guerrilla shooting to capture how they did guerrilla shooting and the tonal way of portraying it versus making it, like you said, heartbreaking scene to funny scene. I see all that, I get all that, but I'm on the couch with the subtitles and the black and white going this is somebody else's really, someone else really cares about this, and I don't, and I can't. No,
well,
I can see it's not for everybody. It's definitely a passion project, but it's,
which I admire.
It's such a well done passion project, and especially how they cast this thing is remarkable. It's crazy. So cool. Like these guys look so much like the filmmakers. It's like, did they get work done to look like these guys?
Yeah,
it's incredible. I watched it once. I liked it, but I knew, I'm like, all right, I got to watch this again at some point when I know like what to expect and so I could really get into it. It's like, the first time I'm like, okay, he's him, and then she's okay.
Like I watched Breathless right before this, going, all right, I need this homework. Let me pay attention. Let me see what we got here. And
that took you 6 nights.
No, Breathless was one night banger. Like Breathless moves. Breathless is.
But you made the mistake of watching the Richard Gere Breathless.
No, I didn't watch Richard Gere. I would like to, because Valerie Kapriska. Oh my gosh,
Zoe Deutsch was very good in Novel Vague, playing Gene Seberg. Both as the sort of icy blonde on in the Breathless movie, as well as the sort of bitchy blonde behind scenes. Is like, is this a legitimate film? Is this real? Why did my agent put me here?
Yeah.
Zoe Deutsch is, I think, a very underrated actress.
She's always good.
Very good. By the way, there's a thing, you can look it up, just as a quick aside, where I think she was on maybe the Tonight Show, and she makes her face do an impression of somebody who's had plastic surgery. And she does it by just raising her eyebrows, sniffing in her nose, and plumping her lips. It's uncanny. It's like one of the great party tricks of all time.
Well, I mean, look who her mom is. So there you go.
Yeah.
There we go. Leah Thompson, for those who don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
We love Leah.
Find out next week when we tell you who her mom is.
Yeah.
That'll be the 2-night Oscar event. All right, so we're down to our number 9 film, which is a movie that very few people, I think, know about. It's a kind of independent movie. I think it was picked up by, I'm going to get this wrong, it was like Lionsgate or somebody, but it's Killing Faith, a movie by Ned Crowley. he's a director I've talked to a couple of times, and I did an interview with him and the star of this movie, DeWanda Wise, back in the fall when this movie came out. There have been westerns are a huge direct-to-video genre. We've seen a lot of studios come out with these things in the last few years, especially this is no dig on stars, but let's just face it, there are stars who are at the top of their game, and then as the years go by, sometimes the opportunities kind of slip down and down and down to the point where they're doing direct-to-video or VOD movies for smaller studios, and you're like, what happened? Guy Pearce is in this movie, and along with Bill Pullman and some other fine actors. And watching this movie, I knew the director because I really liked his previous film that had Jim O'Heir in it. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name. It was
I know this. Shoot, ringing a bell.
I'm sorry. It's not the comedian. It was something else. But yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Don, if you could look that up for me while
I'm on it. Yeah,
okay. I'm gonna kick myself because I forgot it. Middleman, that's right.
Yes. And it was the Chicago National one. Yeah, because it played at the festival. Yep.
Yeah. Jim O'Heir plays a comedian or a wannabe comedian who gets wrapped up in all sorts of like dangerous stuff out in the desert. The desert is a terrible place. That's what we've learned from our discussion tonight. Anyhow, Killing Faith. Guy Pearce plays a kind of an alcoholic, washed-up doctor who winds up taking a woman, played by DeWanda Wise, across the harrowing desert. There we go again, to take her daughter. We're talking about a black woman living in the Old West, and she has a white blonde-haired daughter, and she needs to get across lots of rocky, dangerous terrain full of unsavory characters to a faith healer played by Bill Pullman, because the daughter is cursed. Every time she touches someone, that person dies. And that is, the question is, is she possessed? Is it a supernatural curse? Is it a blessing? What is going on here? And as Killing Faith is the title. It's a journey of faith and discovery and doubt and atheism and the forces of good and evil kind of coming to a head in the end. But what it is also is a very harrowing, grueling, entertaining, bloody Western that has some tremendous performances, including by Guy Pearce and DeWanda Wise. Bill Pullman shows up at the very end. He's not in the picture much at all, but he does have one very memorable scene. And it's one of those things where you watch it and you're like, this got an extremely limited release. I'm talking like one theater, half a showing kind of a thing. And you're like, why didn't this get a bigger push? This deserved to be in movie theaters more, and to find an audience and have that opportunity, like we were talking about before, more than some of the bigger studio releases that came out this year and also cost an 18th of the budget. So yeah, Killing Faith. I don't know if anybody else here on the panel saw it, but I recommend checking it out on VOD. It's really good.
Yeah, I knew about it because it's like this supernatural thriller Western, and I love when those genres are combined. And I just didn't get around to watching it, but I know it's being distributed by Shout Studios, so
they're trying.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's also got one of those great kind of openings, almost a cold open with a character who comes back later in the film, but it's got that sort of Tarantino vibe. But the rest of the movie isn't very Tarantino. It just opens with kind of a shocking moment to get you into the this is what we're doing kind of thing. So yeah, Killing Faith definitely. And that brings us to Jeff York's favorite film of the last century. If I had legs, I'd kick you.
Oh, okay.
I gave it a negative review, but I liked Rose Byrne in it.
Same. I don't think it was that far, but yeah. Not the negative review, but Rose is amazing.
I still haven't gotten the courage to see it.
Ooh, tough watch. Yeah,
it is a tough watch. And going back to the Marty Supreme thing, because Jeff, you and I had talked about this movie when you saw it, and I didn't see it when it was on its kind of festival run, brief kind of run in theaters, because it sounded dreadful and I didn't like the premise. I didn't like what I'd seen of the character that Rose Byrne plays, but I watched it this week. And it was only 2 days old because I had a few more movies to scratch off my list. I had to finish Sentimental Value after having it on pause for the last 20 minutes for the last several months. I also watched Hamnet, and then I watched this movie.
Well, you've had a chipper week. Yes. Get that man.
I'll tell you what, Hamnet was one of the funniest movies I've watched in a long time.
Okay.
As I remarked to, I Jessie Buckley, I still don't get it. I think it's the material. I like her as an actress, but I have what I call the Catherine Keener problem. I did not like her as an actress for the first few years of movies I'd seen of her, but I realized it's because she was too good playing awful people. Jessie Buckley has been in 2 movies that I've watched in the last week: The Bride and then this movie, Hamnet. And we're not here to talk about Hamnet, except to say she plays Agnes, William Shakespeare's wife. If you know the premise of the movie, you can pretty much save yourself 2 hours, because William Shakespeare had a son named Hamnet, and then he wrote a play called Hamlet as sort of a tribute to his son. And that's the entire plot of the film. At the end of the film, my assessment of these characters is I felt really bad for William Shakespeare, but I'm glad Agnes Shakespeare's son died.
Woo! Ouch. Yeah.
Let's talk about If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Go ahead.
Rose Byrne plays a very troubled woman who's a therapist. And she's got a daughter who I don't know if it's explicitly discussed what her condition is, but she needs a feeding tube.
Yeah.
She can't, she doesn't eat food, and it's unclear as if it's a medical thing, it could be a psychological thing, but she just refuses to eat. So she's got this complicated stomach tube with all these bags and alarms and things hooked up to her. The movie opens with a giant hole opening up in their apartment, as I don't even know if anything really crashes through that hole, but this thing kind of opens up, and it's this gross looking problem that they have to move into a motel. And the father is away. We're not quite sure if they're still married, because they have a very contentious relationship that's just them screaming at each other over the phone, and him kind of implying that she's a bad mother, and her kind of doing everything that she can to live up to that label, because she leaves the daughter when she passes out, for the night. She leaves the daughter in the motel room alone. She goes out and, gets liquor and just wanders around. She's got a baby monitor in case anything goes wrong. She can get back to the motel room to take care of things, but she increasingly goes further and further out. So her ability to get back to safety is jeopardized. She leaves, locks herself out on a couple of occasions. She starts talking to, this really weird guy named James, who's in the unit next door, who's kind of has a thing for her, but she's very suspicious and also not very kind. She's a train wreck, to borrow a title from Amy Schumer from a few years ago. And it took me a while to figure out if the filmmaker was on this character's side. And I think she might have been.
Well, sounds darn near biographical. From I think Jeff and I were at the same festival screening where I think Mariah Gates interviewed her, and it was at the Chicago National. And this lady's like, this was a lot of me, and I had a kid with a terminal issue, and we went through some of these things, and it's kind of extenuated a little stronger for movie purposes and all. But no, I think director's on this woman's side. If you want to, we're doing that dartboard throw.
Right. And I think Mary Bronstein is the director and the writer. Here's the thing. I wasn't sure, and I didn't have any of that biographical context, watching the movie. Not that I need to, because they didn't have this is based on a true story or ripped from real events or anything like that. I think people might have found it to be unbelievable. And if they did put that title card up there, I think that would have taken the audience immediately off the side of this character, because she is in many ways irredeemable. But I think there was a lot of sort of messaging in the film about how she got this way, how she was kind of raised, and the messages she got about trying to balance, a family with a career, and sort of taking, choosing the career over the family, not really doing anything to help her own situation, actively working against herself. They took on a Requiem for a Dream quality. There's a lot of Aronofsky in this movie, intentionally or not, where she starts hallucinating and seeing. We keep going back to that hole, and the more she goes back to the apartment, the hole starts to take on more of an organic quality. It doesn't look like just wooden plaster up there. It's kind of like got a fleshy kind of Videodrome quality to it. And then she starts seeing the cosmos in there. And eventually there's a kind of an ambiguous ending that I'm still trying to kind of unpack. And I don't want to get into it here because I think that would get kind of spoilery if y'all even were able to tell me what happened at the end. But by the end of this picture, I thought I'd watched a pretty darn fearless, stripped of all vanity performance by Rose Byrne.
Definitely.
I think A$AP Rocky did a really hell of a job with the character he was given, who doesn't turn out the way that character he shows up on screen. You think it's going to go a particular way. It doesn't. When we find out the actor who plays the father in the film, he shows up like within the last 15 minutes. It's kind of a nice surprise. I didn't even recognize his voice, but
I did. Unmistakable voice. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing: he does have an unmistakable voice, but
Hard Harry. Come on. But I thought he was going to have a podcast radio show for a little bit there,
But that's the thing is, like, even thinking back on it, I didn't go back to rewind to listen to it, but he had a very different kind of there was an affect. And I don't know if it was because it was hearing him over the phone
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I know that voice, but I don't quite get it. And then he's also older, so he doesn't quite sound like he did 36 years ago.
That's true.
But it's a movie full of surprises. And it's hard to like this character. You can kind of understand where she's coming from without quite sympathizing or empathizing. More than anything else, say, I'm glad that's not me.
So true. No, this is Mommy's Having a Moment, the movie, and it's an interminable thing that it's inescapable. And I respected that from like a woman telling that story. And like you said, fearless was a good word for it. It goes some cockamamie places. There is that irredeemable character factor, but the difference for me between this and like Marty Supreme would be just I still saw the streak in this character of regret, empathy to like, I'm still trying to do this for my daughter. I really want this to get figured out. I need to get me right. I think her scenes with Conan O'Brien and her scenes even with her own patients show me more than the other irredeemable characters we saw this year that we talked about already, where I got more of like her, even though she's screwing up at her job and screwing up in front of her own therapist, we still get to see it. And like you said, a little bit of history that brought her there just gave me a more fully fleshed character than other places. So
the one thing I say that kind of gave me pause about this movie, and it's something you just touched on, Don, is the whole idea of, it's a mother having a moment. This, I think, could be, I mean, not a lot of people saw this movie. There's not a whole lot of buzz around it, except for Rose Byrne being up for the Oscar. But I feel like this is the kind of movie that you could put in front of someone who's nervous about having kids, because it's, we're in kind of a crisis moment now, and saying, see, this is why motherhood is literally a horror movie. And I don't think there's quite enough in there. Not saying every film has to have a moral center. It's just nice when it does. But just to say, this is not motherhood. Okay, this is a very specific woman having a very specific negative reaction and a psychotic breakdown in relation to her own experience of motherhood.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you have an emotional attachment and a connection to your child. And it is, even people who have medical difficulties like that, it tends to, it can rip families apart, but it can also bring them together. So that's my only kind of qualm about this. But we go back to Requiem for a Dream, which is a very kind of dreamy, visually engaging, crazy film. But at the end of it, it's like, no, really, you shouldn't do drugs.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Is, hey, kids, don't do drugs. Hey, mom, don't do drugs. Put the Chardonnay down. Jeff, I got to hear what skewed you to the negative on this. The deep breath.
I don't disagree with what you all said, but for me, and maybe it's my own bias as I sat there watching this, but I think the fact that the writer-director chose not to show that girl's face ever. Never identify her as a person,
except the very, very last shot.
Exactly, and that's
a hell of a thing.
A little fartsy, but I found that like taking me out of the film because it was such a conscious choice. It seemed she had no relationship with her daughter because she wouldn't even give her a face or the sort of whatever you want to call it, the stand-in that the director is sort of doing by doing that sort of cinematically. And maybe I'm too sympathetic or something, but I just couldn't get past this child is hooked up to a machine and you are leaving her constantly alone. One thing goes wrong, she chokes to death and she dies alone. You stop being a self-absorbed crybaby about everything. Get some therapy, change your therapist, do one thing that shows me that you once were a career person, that you once were a self-sustainable person, that you were worthy of being a mother. I didn't see any of that here. I love Rose Byrne. She's probably my favorite actress working today. I've championed her for a decade now, 15 years. Shows that she's done everything else. She should have gotten the Best Supporting Actress nomination for Bridesmaids, and she's fantastic in this. But I found the rest of it, maybe it's just me, excruciating. And Ian, I'm sorry I swore. You can edit that out. Hopefully,
I will. No,
it's fine. You
go there. That's just how I felt. I'm a little too raw. Maybe it's too late. I'm losing my sense of it.
No, it's.
I found that so, and it's every scene. Because she's with that child never seen. We never see her. She's just this whiny voice in the back seat or whatever. And I just thought you have to be more sympathetic towards the child, even if you're. And I'll tell you what, I follow this TikTok, and I know this is unfair to compare it to a TikTok, but there's a woman on TikTok whose whole TikTok thing is about her and her cerebral palsy daughter. And her doctor told her not to have the child because it was going to be born with cerebral palsy, and she decided to have it. And she's turned this plight of this young girl into, well, let's have as much fun as we can and we'll work with that. And I feel that I watch that every day and I think like, when it gets dark for me and sometimes it gets kind of dark, I'll like, at least I don't have to deal with that every day. Glad yet anyway. I admit this movie and I just couldn't get past that. I know maybe it's my own bias and stick in my brain, but
I admit there's like a piece of occupational hazard that tingles my neck on this movie where I've met these parents who can't even, who are outmatched by their children and all the adulting, whatever you want to call it. And it's hard whether I'm 25 years old as a teacher or I'm 45 years old as a teacher, when I have to sit across the table from these people twice a year at a parent-teacher conference where they have no clue what to do with their son or daughter. And you can tell they are checked out, they are done, they're hanging by a thread. The 6 hours I have their child in class is a break for them, and I know it. I've met now this woman's dialed to 12, but I mean, like with all the, like you said, the wine, the booze, the drugs, like there's so much here. But I've met these people. I've met this type of mom many times. And like when I watched this movie, that helped me where like, oh my God, I've met Mrs. So-and-so. Like this, I could see 6 people in this woman. And I understood, like, let me see if I can make life easier for you. Like, let me at least like send that kid with a little less homework home, or like be a beacon for like, help me. Where can I help you out, ma'am? Like, because that's the service industry I work in. So yeah.
Well, and I think Jeff, to your point, and Don, thanks for bringing that kind of real world context into it.
Yeah.
This did feel like, she didn't feel like a cartoon character. She did feel like her life situation. Like before this whole happened, she was still hanging on by a thread. And then this thing happened. That was what tipped her over into possible psychosis, right? Because she's getting more dissociative. She's seeing more of these illusions by the time we get to the weird climax of the film. But Jeff, to your point, I love the decision not to show the daughter. It is inhumane and it is rough, but it is also subjective to this character's experience of, I don't want to look at her. I don't want to see her. I have to do these things with the tube, and I don't want to be in the same room with her while she's sleeping because that's mommy time. I'm gonna go out, to your point, and get my Chardonnay and go on these little nighttime adventures, and then that's my time to be me. And because when she wakes up in the morning or whatever, then I have to go back to that's the monster. That's the monster in the attic, right? And it's a hard sit, but. I admire Mary Bronstein's commitment to telling the story in all of its ugly facets, but it also makes me wonder how much of this is autobiographical. I hope
sounds like a lot.
It's like that song. I hope the Russians love their children too. I hope she loves her kids. But anyhow, we're going way over here, gang. So, well, all David, did you have any thoughts on? Did you see this one? I can't remember if you said.
I have not.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
I hope you didn't even take your ears out, man. Okay, so Go into it armed with this knowledge and see what you think.
No, I mean, I said at the beginning that I haven't steeled myself yet to watch it. I knew what it was about and everything. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Tully, Diablo Cody's movie with Charlize Theron with just harried, exasperated mom. I mean, we saw that in Babadook. So it's a thing that could be really interesting to explore in a lot of different genres, I think. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, mainly for Rose Byrne and Conan O'Brien, and maybe for some of the weird elements that you talked about. But I mean, it sounds like what you're saying when they're not showing the daughter like that this is strictly coming from the mother's perspective. It's all from her
which is a little hard to do when you have a third person camera. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. Well,
there's scenes in it where it's like very conspicuous, and then it to me takes me out of the story because, like, okay, they're going out of their way to not show that character in there because normally we would see that just because that's the way the frame is set up, and it becomes self-conscious. But at the same time, I understand exactly what you're saying. I know that's what she's going for. I respect that, and maybe even applaud it. But for me, just as a viewer, I couldn't get into it.
I mean, that's
kept me so.
I get it.
Yeah, and that's that's the beauty and the horror of movies is we all experience them differently. We can watch the exact same thing and understand why a filmmaker is making those decisions and have a completely different reaction to it. So we have successfully made it through my top 10. I do want to really quickly kind of go down the list of alternates, and I'm just going to read the titles, and these are in no particular order, just to give a flavor of this, and this will give you a sense of should I take any stock in this previous top 10 list based on the runners-up.
Okay,
so we'll see. Okay,
over here.
Yes, No Other Choice, as we kind of mentioned, a wonderful foreign film from last year. Blue Moon.
I love that movie.
Yeah. We saw No Other Choice together, Jeff.
Right.
Blue Moon, which we mentioned, the other Linklater movie. Sentimental Value, which these are like all vying for like, if this could only be a number 10, I'd put it in here.
Yeah.
John Candy, I Like Me, a fantastic documentary that isn't nearly on enough lips. Begonia, It Was Just an Accident.
Yeah.
And here's where we get kind of weird, gang. Fantastic Four First Steps. Flight Risk.
No,
but that's that. Yes, and
No.
I'll say
yes. That's the one with Mark.
That's the Mark Wahlberg movie. Yes, and David,
because you saw it in 4DX.
Yes, and I will say that is because, and that it's
go watch Sentimental Value in 40X and see how you feel. All right, come on, get out of here.
I'd watch that. No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is why it's on the alternate list, because for a while it was on that top 10. Wow. Look, the subtitle for this whole show is movie reviews from the last guy anyone asks. So, right, this isn't Richard Roper. But I will say, part of Flight Risk's charm, I think it would work just as a laugh riot if you're just watching it at home and like, oh my God, this is the most ridiculous movie I've seen ever.
So who had a better hairpiece, Mark Wahlberg or Ethan Hawke?
Wahlberg all the way, because he takes it off. You see that wonderful balding Captain Picard pate. Anyhow, that we did, David and I, we saw that in the 4DX motion seating. The one place in Illinois is in the Chicago theater on Western Avenue. It's not the Chicago theater, but a theater in Chicago. It's amazing. It's a life-changing experience.
I had to schedule my chiropractor appointment after that.
I saw I'm a car sick guy, so like I watched Godzilla -1 on that, and I was like, the big last battle with the fighter plane. I was like, all right, I gotta stand up and take a break here. I'm with hurl,
Yeah.
I took my daughter to see Send Help at that 4DX theater, and it was a blast.
Oh,
it's fun though.
Yes. The last two movies on my alternate list, we mentioned Novocaine earlier tonight. I thought that was a lot of fun. And also Heart Eyes, I think was a fun twist on the slasher film. Okay. Don't need a sequel, but wasn't perfect, but I admired what it tried to do, which was basically say, what if we turned a Hallmark movie into a slasher film? I thought that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But yeah, those are my top films of 2025. I can finally put that whole year behind me and focus on 2026.
I'm so proud of you.
Hey,
Yeah.
thank you.
March 17th. Next year, let's do February 17th, huh?
Well,
Next year,
how
about this?
The Oscars need to be earlier. Part of the reason the ratings are going down is we've seen 5 or 10 award shows until then. By then, we're into the new season, and all this stuff has been talked to death. Get it out in February, end of February.
These nominations have been out since January 20th. There's no reason why you can't turn them around February 20th. Come on. Yeah.
Well, to your point, Don, I'm going to try and get this done in January next year.
I'm a December 31st guy.
Should we hold you accountable to that, or do you need help with that? Or
why not? I made myself a promise that I'd get my list out. This time I'm going to get it out with a deadline.
We're here for you. We'll hold you accountable.
I don't know. You're your own boss. It's your logo in the corner, buddy. I can't help you here. You know,
it's our logo, gang. Even though this was my top list, we had a lot of overlap here. Unfortunately, I think because I want to get out of here at a decent time, a couple of things. One, I think I mentioned this at the top of the show. I've linked all of your top 10 lists down at the bottom. Take a look. There's several films that we didn't even discuss tonight, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't, but they're all worth discussing and listening to my fellow Earth's Mightiest critics make their cases for those. Also, there were a whole lot of comments that we didn't get to, mainly from the blonde in front, Katie, who was not able to join us here tonight, and also Mark from Special Mark Productions, the Spoiler Room podcast, the other Earth's Mightiest critics. As we mentioned, Katie is homesick, so we miss you, Katie. Also, I forgot to shout out, yes, you had Life of Chuck way up on your list, as did many of us. So yeah, not enough love for that movie. So gang, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna let everyone get to bed.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, you may, sir.
I never beg on podcasts, but I will
Are you sure?
I will plead and beg people to see my number one. The voice of Heen Rajab. You just have to see it. Don't bother with the trailer. I mean, you can, that's fine. But it's a must see.
Did you show that, or is that coming up at the after hours?
We talked about it last night, and it was really powerful discussion. There was a lot of Palestinians in the audience.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was
good work.
Really intense, and it was it's such a powerful movie, and yeah, the way it's just seamlessly made. It's like a documentary, it's like a narrative, it's both basically, and it's just so intensely powerful.
Do you know if that is on? Is it on streaming yet? I mean, I know that was just kind of out, but what's
kind of
where
like,
can I see it?
Yeah, you can rent it, you can watch it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for sticking, with me for the last almost 2 hours. I really appreciate it. Once again, I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Jeff York of the Establishing Shot and Pipeline Artists. We have Don Shanahan of Film Obsessive and Every Movie Has a Lesson and the Cinephile History podcast, and David Fowley of Keeping It Real. We also have, we got a lot of comments on the side here, but unfortunately, this show could go for another hour if we address them all. I apologize. And it does look like we got some good, respectful comments, which I like. I'll have to get better about that, but sharing that in future shows. Next week, we'll be back. Date to be determined, but we're going to be talking about Project Hail Mary.
Oh, I thought you were going to swear. Jeez.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I am, David, you'll be proud of me. I am 40 pages away from finishing Andy Weir's novel.
Okay.
The more I read it, the more excited I get about watching the movie.
We've seen this go good ways and bad ways, though, y'all. Man,
amaze.
Let me finish that sentence. The more terrified I am by the fact that it's a Lord and Miller film, and it sounds like they're going to be leaning into the worst elements of the novel, which is, from the trailer, I called it the Marvel style humor. Which this novel is not that old, so I'm reading this and thinking this guy was a huge Joss Whedon acolyte fan. Anyhow,
okay.
We'll be back talking about that next week. So join us here whenever that is, whatever that is. Thank you very much. Take care. And by the way, like and subscribe and all that stuff. Got to get the shill in. But I hope you had a great 2025. Hope you watched a lot of great movies. And if you haven't seen the movies we discussed tonight, hopefully you didn't spoil them too much. Seek them out, enrich yourselves, and then, get to catching up on 2026. Till next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much and take care.